तद्भवं पर्यय विद्महे ज्ञानलिङ्गेश्वराय धीमहि तन्नो गुरुः प्रचोदयात्। ओम योग महर्षि डॉक्टर स्वामी गीतानंद गिरि गुरु महाराज की जय। Namaste, Namaskaram, Swagatam. Welcome to yet another morning session from this part of the world. And last night we had a huge rainstorm. Huge rain. Everything is wet. Good. Plants are happy. The trees are happy. Nature is happy. Today I thought I will take our discussion further. And we have been talking about the three bindus which are sort of in the front of the head. And let us look at some of the bindus that are in the back of the head, which are part of our sort of old brain memories that we have to address in order to grow. So in the back of the head, what we have is an area called Aprakasha Bindu. And for those of you who have been with me over this series today, 87, you know that we talked about a mudra called Aprakasha Mudra. And that this was the swallowing action, where after inhalation, you breathe in and then you swallow. That swallowing action is called Aprakasha Mudra. And it is a very important safety valve when you are doing pranayama, especially when you are holding in the breath. So any pranayama where you are holding in the breath, you will automatically be using this Aprakasha Mudra. It is a vital component of pranayama sadhana in the Gita-Ananda tradition. The Aprakasha Mudra, which is a gesture, is a conscious effort to connect to the Aprakasha Bindu. The Aprakasha Bindu is, again, a Bindu is a focal point of consciousness. It's at the junction of Vijnanamaya, Manomaya. Usually, they have a physical correlation. Let us not think the physical is the Bindu. This is the danger that we always have when these correlations are made, if they are not made in a living teacher-student transmission. When it's in a book, when it's in a script, we tend to confuse things and we think the physical is the metaphysical. The physical correlates to the metaphysical. Okay? Just keep that in mind. It is a correlation. So the correlation of the Aprakasha Bindu, which is a Bindu, a focal point of consciousness, it is correlated to the brain stem. The brain stem is as with a stem of a flower. It is above the spinal cord. So we have to go back a little bit to our spinal series that we did earlier, where you have the spinal cord. We are a vertebrate. Do we have spine? We are a vertebrate. So you have the invertebrates and then the vertebrates. And in the vertebral column, we have the spinal cord. In embryological development, the notochord and other concepts are there when they talk about this. The spinal cord is nervous system. And the spinal cord then has an outgrowth. So you have the spinal cord, it then has an outgrowth that becomes the brain. And then the brain develops. So the brain itself is an outgrowth of the spinal cord. The spinal cord is the more primitive part, which is why the spinal cord part is called the reptilian complex. I'm going back to things we have discussed, but it's important in this context. So the spinal cord is related to our reptilian complex, which carries the old memories, the samskaras and the vasanas that are carried. You do not carry anything from one lifetime to another, but samskaras and vasanas are carried because they are at the metaphysical psychic level, not the physical level. Physically, you cannot carry anything. But the samskara vasanas are carried, and they are creating the karma cycles that then manifest when we are born with the kleshas, which are the root source of karma. So the samskara vasana complex is a very, very important component. Very primitive component that goes all the way back to the time we were crawling around without hands and legs, but something that seemed like it. A centipede and all those creepy crawlies. So the spinal cord has an outcropping that then develops into the brain. So between the spinal cord and the rest of the brain, you have the brain stem. So the brain stem is just on top of the spinal cord. The brain stem is responsible for three important things: respiration, circulation, digestion. Respiration, circulation, digestion. Basically, the three things you need to stay alive. Hence, the brain stem is the center that physiologically makes sure that you stay alive. And hence the brain stem is the seat of our primitive klesha called abhinivesha. Abhinivesha klesha, which is the desire to survive at any cost, that drives the whole evolution that is at an unconscious, subconscious level, which has happened till now. The whole process of survival of the fittest that Darwin talks about, this whole survival of the fittest is driven by the energy of abhinivesha klesha. And the correlate physically, physiologically to this klesha is your brain stem. Because the brain stem is engaged in survival. And at the primitive level, survival is the highest virtue. You need to survive. Your progenies need to survive. Your ideas need to survive. That is a very primitive reptilian tendency. And whether we like it or not, it is within all of us. Patanjali says that the abhinivesha klesha is found in the most wisest of people who should know better, and that the abhinivesha klesha runs on its own energy. He says, Swarasa Vahi. It has its own energy. It is our energy. Swarasa Vahi. And then he says, Vidusho api samarudaha. Even the wisest person has within them, hidden within them, this desire to survive at any cost. So they seem very yogic, very spiritual, until and unless the Titanic starts sinking. And suddenly what happens? All the primitive reflexes start to come up, and you push everybody out of the way and you jump into the lifeboat. Very, very important. The primitive part is your spinal cord. And yes, memories are carried through our DNA, Manjari. What is the DNA? It is the bija. And that is why we call it sabija karma. The sabija karma is the karma carried through the seed. And what is the seed? The seed that comes from the father and mother. And what does the father and mother seed contain? DNA. Why do we choose those parents? Because of the samskara vasana. So samskara vasanas are like your psychic genetics, and the DNA is like your physical genetics. I'm just trying to give you correlations here. The brain stem has an area that is very, very important for your breathing. And what it does is, it forces you to breathe in. So it says, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. Basically, nags you. Breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. You know what nagging is? Saying the same thing again and again. So, again, nagging, nagging. It's a japa that comes from again. So what the brainstem, the respiratory center there does is, it says breathe in, and immediately what happens? Your diaphragm starts to go down. Immediately your intercostal muscles start to open up the chest, and the accessory muscles start to lift up. The muscular movement is under the command of the brainstem. And it says diaphragm start to go down, the intercostals come out, accessories, and you breathe in. At the peak of your inhalation, where you have inhaled as much as possible, it stops sending the command. That's all. It doesn't actually say breathe out. Now there is an area that can be brought into. We talk about apneustic areas and other things. Pneumotaxic, apneustic. These are the technical scientific terms. I don't like to burden people with it, but if you are interested, you will find words like pneumotaxic, apneustic areas in this respiratory center of the brainstem. Normally what it is doing, it is saying breathe in, and you breathe in, and then it stops sending the command. And so when the command stops coming, the diaphragm which has gone down, it starts to come up. The intercostals come back, the accessories come back, and by elastic recoil, you breathe out. This is why normally inspiration is an active process under the command of the brainstem, and expiration is a passive process. Active inspiration, passive expiration. So this whole process is under the governance of the respiratory center that is in the brainstem, and this area is given the term Aprakasha Bindu. So the Bindu is the focal point of consciousness that is keeping this going. It is keeping this going, the Aprakasha Bindu. And this is why when you breathe in and you want to hold the breath, you need to send a signal to this area. You need to say, I am holding my breath. I know what I'm doing. I'm not trying to kill myself. Nobody is smothering me. Nobody is suffocating me. I don't have a plastic bag around my face. Because when you do the Aprakasha Mudra, that is the swallowing action, you breathe in, what you are doing is you are sending a message to that brainstem, that Aprakasha Bindu, through the Aprakasha Mudra, saying, I know what I'm doing. Don't get into your survival mode of sympathetic overreactivity. Because otherwise what happens, if you just hold your breath, the brainstem starts to say, has this person gone mad? Is there some reason they cannot breathe? Oh my God, what is going to happen? And all hell breaks loose. Because it is worried about you surviving. You are holding your breath. What if you don't take the next breath? You are going to die. That is how it thinks. All it cares about is life and death, nothing else. It doesn't care whether you have a wife, a life, you have a job, you have qualitative aspects of life, you have a beautiful sunrise that you enjoy, or beautiful music you listen to. The brainstem cares not. The brainstem only cares life, death. It's like the computer with the 0 and the 1, the binary code that is there at the base of all computing, 0 and 1. The brainstem only understands life, death, life, death, life, death. So everything has to be treated as a life and death situation by the brainstem. That is why, because of my t-shirt, I'm talking about all of this breathing today. And remember, the trees are the lungs of the planet. And no trees, no lungs, no life. Okay? So keep the trees going. Plant more trees. Cut down the least possible. I'm not saying don't cut them down. As human beings, civilization grows, we need space and resources. But please make sure that you plant more than you cut down. I think that's a good way to think about it. For every tree you cut down, if you plant at least 2, I think we are giving back to the planet, and plant it in a way that future generations may not cut it down. Respect for life, respect for the planet, gratitude for life, gratitude to the planet. The brainstem doesn't care about anything qualitative. All it cares is life, death, and that is why every situation, the brainstem makes it into a life or death situation and stress response. You know, those who know me know I don't like stress response. I call it the stress reaction. Because there's no response, it is a reaction. Oh my God, I'm going to die. Jump up, run, punch the person. Who's the person? I don't care. Punch them and get out. That is all brainstem. So the Aprakasha Bindu is a very, very interesting focal point of consciousness. And what is this consciousness here? Why does this brainstem have a Bindu? Why is the brainstem related to a Bindu? It is because the brainstem is a place where the normally unconscious automatic pattern of breathing can be changed into a voluntary, conscious, controlled pattern of breathing. That is why the Aprakasha Bindu is very important for yoga. So important. What we need to understand is that the breath is a key window of opportunity. It is the key opportunity where a normally automatic, autonomic, subconscious, unconscious activity of breathing is transformed into a conscious, evolutionary, choice-based process. This is where the cortical aspects come in. That is where the Vijnanamaya Kosha comes in. And because the Vijnanamaya Kosha comes in, there is a Bindu associated with it. The Aprakasha Bindu, when you want to understand it, all you have to do is close your eyes, breathe out. As you breathe in, swallow at the end of the inspiration. And as you swallow, you will hear a click inside your brain. Now breathe out. Again, breathe in. At the peak of inspiration, make the swallowing action and be aware of a clicking sound. There is a gentle click that is made inside your head, inside your brain. Again, breathing out. Breathing in. Swallow. Be aware of where that clicking sound is coming in your brain. And then breathing out. What we'll do is a very beautiful, we'll do 9 rounds of the Savitri Pranayama. And as we do the Savitri Pranayama, we are going to be breathing in for 6, holding for 3, out for 6, holding for 3. When we breathe in, I want you to make that Aprakasha Mudra and just contemplate where is that place in you, in your head. Okay, it's towards the central back region of the head, just to give you a clue where to look. Otherwise, you'll be looking in your nose or ears, I don't know where you'll be looking. This is a clicking sound that is perceived internally, a very beautiful clicking sound when you swallow. That is why the swallowing action is very much associated. Swallowing action is associated with the survival instinct. And that is why Patanjali says, Kanta Kupe, when you contemplate the pit of the throat. Shutpipasa Nivrittihi, you go beyond hunger and thirst. Hunger and thirst are the forces that are driven by the desire to survive. I want to survive, so I have to eat. If I don't eat, I won't survive. If I don't drink, I won't survive. And when you start to contemplate this, when you are swallowing, what are you doing? Kanta Kupe, the pit of the throat. This is where the Yoga Sutras have multiple dimensions. People think it's all philosophy and psychology. They forget it's life itself. The Yoga Sutras are life itself. And that is why Kanta Kupe, Shutpipasa Nivrittihi is said. You go beyond hunger and thirst. And this is because when you are swallowing, you are connecting through the Aprakasha Mudra to the Aprakasha Bindu that is now bringing consciousness into a normally unconscious, subconscious, survival, instinctive, reflexive, reactionary part of you. Okay? Let's do 9 rounds of the Savitri. What is Savitri? Life. Okay? Breathing out. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2. Let your mind start to focus at that point towards the back of your head, the central back region of the head, where you may have perceived that clicking sound. Let your mind focus on that area. That area is the Aprakasha Bindu, that focal point of consciousness that enables us to transcend the Abhinivesha Klesha, the desire to survive at any cost. We are bringing a sense of consciousness, light, into an area of unconsciousness, subconsciousness, darkness. The light being shown into that area of darkness. The subconscious, unconscious is a dark room. What we are doing is bringing the light there, the Aprakasha Bindu. When we focus on this Bindu, the Bindu Dharana, we are focusing the mind, a one-pointed mind, a laser beam of the mind, a beautiful light onto this region, a region that enables us to understand our subconscious, unconscious survival instincts. Why do we want to understand them? So that we can transcend them, so that we can grow out of them. Because as long as we are stuck in survival instincts, we are still back in our reptilian complex. We want to move from the reptilian and mammalian into the human aspects of our consciousness. Beautiful. Such a beautiful feeling that is there. And yes, at the back of the neck, little higher. Yes, Abba, that is about the area. There will be slight variations from person to person, depending on the structure of the head, the structure of the neck, and again your fine tuning of your perception. And okay, sometimes the ears. See, the thing is, what happens, Soundarajan, is normally we associate that sound has to be heard in the ear. This is the thing that our learned behavior is that sound is heard in the ear. But this is actually a sound which is happening in the brain. The clicking is in the brain. But what is happening is, because we hear it, we say, oh, this must be in the ear because it is the ears that hear. So this is where the trick is, that we need to realize it's not what we hear in the ear, but it's actually what is happening inside. When you breathe in and you try to localize that point. You go from what is the manifest sound to the unmanifest. We talk about sound as Vaikari, Para. There is a point. And yes, Gurulin, center of the head at the back between the ears. Yes, you're starting to get that idea. And if you look at any, side view of the brain, today Google some brain images and look at it from the side, you'll start to see where the brainstem is, start to relate it to where the ears are, related to the other parts of your brain structure. And you'll start to actually see that this is very much that area that you're becoming conscious of. Yoga is the process of becoming conscious, mindful of parts of us that are normally hidden. The subconscious, unconscious that is hidden. We are shedding light on it. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya is a journey within, where the tamas, the dark ignorance, we are trying to shed light on it. Nobody has to shed light on it for us. We are the light for our own self. We are the best light for our own self. So keep working on this Aprakasha Bindu Dharana. The Aprakasha Bindu Dharana enables us to have this, it's a very, very beautiful concept. And yes, Lynette, it's very beautiful how many people this happens naturally. Many of these experiences occur naturally, but sometimes we don't know what is happening. And, then they are like, people are scared. Oh, I'm hearing clicking in my head. Is something wrong with me? And you go to the audiologist to test your ears. And, we set in motion something else. It's very important to understand. All of these are natural. They are very much part of our natural living. Yoga living is natural living. Natural living doesn't mean you have to be in the forest. Okay, people think natural living is being in the forest. Natural living is living as a human being should, wherever you are. Even if you are on the 120th floor of a building, you can be living naturally also. So natural living doesn't just mean going out into the countryside. Natural living is to live in tune with nature, that's all. Wherever you are. Because if you are working in a big city, you cannot say, no, I'm going to go out and live 2 hours away because I have to be natural living, and then you spend 4 hours commuting to the city and back. I think it is so important. And yes, Dr. Meena, what you have said is correct. Aprakasha to Prakasha Varanam. Very true. I'll continue this tomorrow because that is what pranayama does. Tatakshiyate Prakasha Avaranam. That shroud that is covering the inner light is removed through pranayama sadhana. And because pranayama sadhana has a lot of the held in breath. Now many people say, what about on the held out breath? You can do Aprakasha mudra on the held out breath also, but it's not the same. So you can breathe out, but it's not the same. The reason it's not the same is, you remember I started off saying, inhalation is active, that it is governed by the brainstem, as opposed to exhalation, that is a natural process. So the brainstem is not so worried about exhalation. because it knows that it will happen. At some point you will breathe out, but it's worried about you breathing in. What it is worried about is you breathing in, not so much about you breathing out. And that is why after the inhalation, when you do it, you are getting that window of consciousness into the unconscious part. You can practice this on the exhalation also, but it is not as expanded as it is. It is more for a sake of you practicing it. And it's not the same, because when you breathe in and do, there's a very different experience. And again, we do the Jalandhara Bandha, Udyana and thing. So the Aprakasha Mudra is like a modified Jalandhara Bandha also, which is again a safety valve. And even if you are doing the Jalandhara Bandha, you can do the Aprakasha Mudra and then apply the Jalandhara Bandha. So then you are having the physical lock as well as the psychic lock both happening together. Have a wonderful day wherever you are. Hari Om Tat Sat.